Have you ever sat across from someone you love, a parent, a spouse, a dear friend, and felt that something was quietly changing? Maybe it was just a small moment. They needed a little more help getting up from their chair. They skipped lunch and said they weren't hungry. Their voice sounded thinner, their presence a little smaller. You couldn't quite name it. Maybe it was just part of aging. You told yourself, but deep down, something whispered, "Pay attention." That's exactly what happened to my friend Linda. Her mother, Margaret, was 86, sharp as a tack, independent as ever. For years, Margaret had been the life of every family gathering. But over the course of a year, Linda began noticing changes. At first, it was subtle. Her mother's clothes looked loose. She started turning down her favorite meals. "I'm just not that hungry," she'd say softly. Then came the long afternoon naps. The forgetfulness. The garden she once tended every morning now sat untouched. Linda wondered, was this normal aging? Or something more? By the time her mother became too weak to climb the stairs, the family realized Margaret was approaching her final stage of life. And here's why I'm sharing this with you today. This experience is far more common than we talk about. Most of us assume that death in old age happens suddenly, a fall, a stroke, a heart attack. But in truth, the body often gives us quiet warnings months, sometimes even a year, before life reaches its final chapter. Sadly, many of us miss these signs. They start so subtly we dismiss them as just getting older. And by the time we truly recognize them, we may have lost precious time to prepare, to comfort, to share memories, to say what needs to be said. That's why this video and this conversation is so important. Today, we're going to explore 5 key signs that often appear in the months before an elderly person passes away. These are not meant to frighten you. They are meant to help you see clearly, so you can meet these changes with love, compassion, and wisdom. Because when you understand these signs, you can create a beautiful, peaceful space for your loved one and for yourself. And why should you stay until the very end? Because I'll not only share the signs, but show you how to respond to them, with simple ways to support your loved one in this tender stage. And along the way, I'll share real stories from families, like Linda's, so you know you're not alone in this journey. Finally, knowing what to expect can bring peace of mind. It allows you to cherish what remains, to create space for dignity, and to embrace the final chapter with love, not fear. So settle in with a warm cup of tea or coffee, and stay with me, because this knowledge, though tender, may one day become one of the greatest gifts you can give to someone you love. Now, let me ask you, when was the last time you really looked at an aging parent, grandparent, or spouse, noticing how they walk, how their clothes fit, how much they eat, how often they nap, whether the spark is still in their eyes? Sometimes we are so busy with life that we forget to slow down and observe, but the body whispers its story long before it shouts. Recognizing these quiet messages early allows you to meet them with wisdom. It gives you time to create memories, to ease pain, to hold hands, to offer comfort and dignity when it matters most. I want you to feel prepared, not panicked, empowered, not helpless. I've walked this road with my own family members, and I've heard from so many viewers like you. One woman named Joyce wrote to me, "I wish I had known the signs earlier. I wasted time worrying about whether my husband should eat more or exercise more, when what he really needed was simply for me to sit beside him and hold his hand." That wisdom is why we're here today. Because there comes a moment when the goal is no longer to fix what's happening, it is to walk beside your loved one, to make their days as comfortable, dignified, and connected as possible. When you embrace this role, something beautiful happens. You move from fear to acceptance, from helplessness to presence, from "why is this happening?" to "how can I make these moments count?" And those moments, they are precious beyond words. So as we begin, take a deep breath. Know that whatever you are facing, or may face in the future, you are not alone. We are a community here on Vibrant Elders, and together, we will walk this path with open hearts. Now, let's begin with the first key sign, one that often appears long before we recognize its meaning. Sometimes the first sign comes so quietly, you almost don't notice it at all. A belt loop that feels looser, a blouse that looks too big, a favorite meal left half eaten. It's tempting to brush it off, She's just getting older. His appetite has always gone up and down. But beneath these small changes, the body may be whispering something deeper. When an elderly loved one begins to lose weight without trying, especially over weeks or months, it is often the body's first message that a deeper transition is underway. And this is not about appearance. It is about what that weight loss means beneath the surface. Let me tell you about Robert, a retired history teacher from Ohio, tall, proud, always dressed sharp in his signature tweed jacket. His daughter, Susan, told me that last summer, he seemed a little slimmer. At first, she was pleased. Her dad had always carried a bit of extra weight. But then the changes kept coming. His belt needed a new hole. His wedding ring slipped off easily. He started picking at his meals, saying food just didn't taste the same. Susan encouraged him to eat more, brought his favorite apple pie, cooked nourishing soups, but week after week, the pounds melted away. What Susan didn't know, what so many of us don't realize, is that as the body prepares for life's final stage, it often stops absorbing nutrients the way it used to. Muscle begins to waste away. The digestive system slows. Appetite fades, not out of stubbornness, but because the body no longer calls for fuel in the same way. And here's the truth. No amount of urging can reverse this process once it begins. When we see this change, our instinct is to fight it. Eat more. Let's try protein shakes. You'll feel stronger if you just eat. But this isn't about appetite. It is a profound shift in the body's priorities. But this isn't about appetite. It is a profound shift in the body's priorities. As the systems slow, the body begins conserving energy for what matters most, simply sustaining vital functions. For Robert, the changes accelerated. He could no longer climb stairs without help. His arms and legs grew thinner. By autumn, he needed a wheelchair. Susan said, "I kept blaming myself. I thought if only I could find the right food, he'd bounce back." But what her father needed most wasn't more calories, it was her presence, a hand to hold. Gentle conversation, comfort in knowing he was loved, just as he was. If you see unintentional weight loss in someone you love, especially combined with fatigue or reduced appetite, pause and listen. This isn't about forcing them to eat more. It's about shifting your care, offering small, easy-to-eat meals, prioritizing hydration, choosing comfort over quantity. Sometimes, a few spoonfuls of warm soup shared at the kitchen table mean more than a full plate. And emotionally, it means being present without judgment or trying to fix what is unfolding naturally. As the body prepares for life's final stage, weight loss often signals that transition more clearly than any test or scan. And while it is hard, so hard, for us to witness, our role shifts here. We move from trying to restore the old normal to embracing this new chapter with gentleness. I want to share one more story, this from Karen. Her wife, Joan, had always been petite but strong, a master quilter, a joyful grandmother. Over the course of a year, Karen watched Joan lose 15 pounds. She cooked Joan's favorite childhood dishes, made smoothies, but still, the weight slipped away. In the end, Karen told me, the day I stopped fighting it, the day I sat beside her and just held her, was the day we both found peace. That is the gift we can offer, presence. Not pushing, not forcing, simply walking beside them. Remember, weight loss in this stage is not failure. It is not something you caused or can undo. It is a signal to shift your caregiving toward comfort and love. When you meet this moment with acceptance, it frees both you and your loved one to share what matters most: time, connection, love. Now let's move to another sign that often appears next, not in the appetite, but in the heart of daily energy and vitality. If you've ever cared for an aging loved one, you know how precious the small rhythms of daily life can be. The little rituals, morning coffee together, a short walk to the mailbox, tending to the garden. But sometimes, one of the clearest changes, and one of the hardest to witness, comes not from appearance, but from energy. It is a deep, unrelenting fatigue, a weariness no nap can cure. And it often arrives quietly. One morning, they sleep an hour later than usual. The next, they skip the walk. Soon, they need to rest after simply getting dressed. At first, you think, maybe they just had a bad night. Maybe tomorrow will be better. But the pattern deepens, the spark fades. Small tasks become monumental. Let me share the story of Edna, a 79-year-old retired nurse in Georgia. Her daughter, Michelle, noticed it first during a Sunday phone call. Mom sounded so tired. Even after sleeping 10 hours. Michelle told me. At first, Edna brushed it off. Oh, just getting old. But week by week, she stopped baking, stopped tending to her beloved rose bushes. When Michelle visited, the change was clear. Her mother struggled to rise from her chair. A walk across the room left her breathless. Conversations grew shorter, not from lack of interest, but because even talking felt exhausting. This kind of fatigue is different. It's not the tiredness of a busy day or poor night's sleep. It is a deep cellular exhaustion, the body conserving what little energy remains. Here's why this happens. As the body enters its final months, many systems begin to slow. The heart may not pump as strongly. Circulation weakens. Muscles don't get the oxygen they need. Metabolism shifts to self-preservation. Instead of fueling movement, the body diverts energy to keeping vital organs functioning. It's as if the body says, let's focus on what matters now, the essentials. For someone experiencing this, even small exertions can feel like climbing a mountain. Rising from bed takes effort. Dressing may require sitting down between steps. Walking a few feet leaves them winded. And emotionally, this is devastating. Many elders take great pride in their independence. Losing that can trigger frustration, embarrassment, even grief. They may withdraw, not because they don't love you, but because they no longer have the energy to engage as they once did. This happened with Edna. Michelle told me. She stopped coming to Sunday dinners. Not because she didn't want to, she just couldn't handle the noise and the energy. It's easy for family members to misunderstand this. We may think they're being lazy, or depressed, or giving up, but often, it is the body speaking loud and clear, I am slowing down. And here's a truth both tender and hard. Pushing them won't change this. No amount of, come on, just try, will reverse what is unfolding. In fact, trying to push can cause more exhaustion, even distress. So what can we do? First, honor where they are. If your loved one needs to rest more, let them, without guilt or pressure. Their body knows what it needs. Next, create an environment that supports peace and comfort. Provide seating with good support. Place essentials within easy reach. Allow extra time for everything: dressing, meals, conversation. Understand that conversations may need to be shorter and simpler. A few meaningful words matter more than lengthy chats. A shared moment of quiet can be as profound as a long visit. And most importantly, reassure them that their worth is not tied to what they can do. Many elders feel shame when they can no longer keep up. They need to hear and feel they are loved and valued simply for being, not for doing. Michelle told me the most healing moment came one afternoon when she sat beside her mother and said, "Mom, you don't have to do anything today. Just rest. I'm here, and I love you." Her mother wept, and from that day forward, their time together became gentler, more precious. Sometimes, that's the greatest gift we can offer: permission to rest, to release the expectation of doing, and to embrace simply being together. Sometimes, the hardest changes to witness are not those of the body, but of the mind. You see a loved one who once laughed easily, shared stories, connected deeply, begin to fade in ways you can't quite name. At first, it might be small things. They repeat the same question 3 times over lunch. They forget a grandchild's birthday, something they never would have missed. They seem confused about what day it is, or why everyone is gathered. You brush it off at first. Oh, we all forget things sometimes. But slowly, the confusion deepens. The person who once lit up a room starts sitting quietly at the edges. They withdraw from conversations, no longer jumping in with that spark of curiosity. It's not that they don't care, it's that the mind is slowly pulling inward, conserving energy for what it can still manage. This is one of the tenderest signs that a loved one may be moving toward their final chapter, and it's one that families often find the most painful, because it feels like losing someone bit by bit. Let me tell you about Arthur. He was an 82-year-old retired jazz musician in Chicago for years. His daughter Elena said, he was the life of every gathering, telling stories, playing piano, making everyone laugh. But about a year before he passed, things began to shift. At first, He forgot the punchlines to his favorite jokes, then he began getting lost in familiar rooms, pausing mid-step. Unsure of where he was going, Elena told me. I kept reminding him, "Dad, it's the living room, you've known this house for 40 years. But he'd just look at me, confused. Soon, conversations became harder. Arthur would trail off mid-sentence, unable to find the words. He withdrew more and more, preferring to sit by the window in quiet. It broke Elena's heart. I wanted my dad back. I wanted to pull him out of that fog. But here's what I told her, and what I want to share with you today. This is not something your loved one can control. It is not stubbornness, not indifference, not a lack of love. It is the mind's way of preparing for a deeper transition. As the body slows, so too does the brain's ability to process new information and sustain complex interactions. Memory falters, focus drifts, emotional bandwidth narrows. Often, your loved one may feel overwhelmed by too much noise or too many people. What once brought joy, a lively dinner table, a birthday party, may now feel exhausting, even frightening, and so, they withdraw, not out of choice, but out of need. This was the case with Arthur. Elena told me. I thought he was depressed. I kept trying to cheer him up, get him out of the house. But the more I pushed, the more he seemed to shut down. That's when I explained, sometimes, the greatest gift you can give is to meet them exactly where they are. Instead of trying to pull them back into how they used to be. Join them in the space they can still comfortably inhabit. For Arthur, that meant quiet afternoons with soft jazz playing and Elena simply sitting beside him. Holding his hand, no pressure to talk, no expectations to engage, just loving presence. And something beautiful happened. Elena told me that in those moments, when she stopped trying to fix things, her father would sometimes glance at her with the old twinkle in his eye, a silent moment of connection that spoke louder than words. So if you notice these changes, growing confusion, memory lapses, emotional withdrawal, here is what I want you to remember. First, it is not your fault, and it is not theirs. This is a natural part of the body and mind preparing for its final journey. Second, pushing for more conversation, more clarity, more participation, will often lead to frustration for both of you. Instead, focus on what remains possible. Quiet companionship, simple, familiar routines, gentle reassurance that they are loved, just as they are. Third, understand that even when words fade, love remains. I cannot tell you how many families have shared this truth with me in the final months. A loved one may no longer speak much, or at all, yet they still respond to gentle touch. Familiar voices, warm presence. One viewer, Jim, shared a story about his wife, Betty. She had advanced cognitive decline and had stopped speaking. But when he sat beside her and sang her favorite hymn, tears would roll down her cheeks. She couldn't tell me she loved me anymore, Jim said, but I knew, and I hope she knew I still loved her, too. That is the heart of this journey. As the mind pulls inward, your role shifts. From conversation to presence, from fixing to comforting, from doing to simply being. And in this space, tender, quiet, sacred, you can still offer immense love. So if you are walking this path now, take heart. Know that even in their silence, your loved one still feels your love. Through the warmth of your touch, the sound of your voice, the safety of your presence. And that is enough, more than enough. As we move forward in this journey, we will explore another change, one that speaks to the body's deepest defenses. Understanding it will help you offer even more compassion and wisdom in these precious final months. So stay with me. We are walking this path together, with open hearts, and with love as our guide. One of the most subtle, yet deeply telling, changes you may witness in a loved one nearing their final stage is how their body responds to illness and injury. Or rather, how it no longer responds as it once did. You might notice that a simple cold seems to linger far longer than usual. A small cut takes weeks to heal. A low-grade fever comes and goes without clear cause. At first, it's easy to think, oh, they're just having a rough week. They'll bounce back soon. But over time, these small issues seem to stack up. A lingering cough, another urinary tract infection, a sore that won't close. As these signs accumulate, the truth begins to reveal itself. The body's natural defenses are quietly wearing down. This was something Carla noticed with her father, Hank, an 84-year-old retired mailman from North Carolina. For most of his life, Hank had been hardy and resilient, rarely sick, always quick to recover, but over the span of 1 year, things began to shift. It started with a small scrape on his shin, something he would have shrugged off before. But weeks later, it was still red and tender. Then came a cold that hung on for nearly a month, leaving him weak and exhausted. Soon after, Hank began battling urinary tract infections, one after another. Carla told me, at first, we kept taking him to the doctor, trying every antibiotic, but nothing seemed to really fix it. And that's one of the hardest things for families to accept. The immune system, once robust and responsive, becomes increasingly fragile as the body approaches its final chapter. Why does this happen? As we age, the immune system naturally weakens, a process called immunosenescence, but when the body is nearing the end of life, this decline accelerates. The body, in its wisdom, begins focusing its limited resources on sustaining vital functions, fighting infections, healing wounds. These tasks become less of a priority. It's not a failure, it's simply the body recognizing that its energy must now be reserved for the essentials. But for families like Carla's, this can be heartbreaking. You see your loved one battling issue after issue, and you want so badly to fix it. We kept thinking, one more round of antibiotics, and Dad will bounce back, Carla said, but each time, he seemed a little weaker, a little more tired. And here's what I gently tell families in this stage: sometimes, the goal is no longer to cure, but to comfort. It's a difficult shift to make. We're so conditioned to fight illness, to seek treatment, to hope for recovery. But there comes a point when more medical intervention may only cause distress. Instead, the focus can, and should, shift to managing discomfort, supporting rest and hydration, creating a calm, loving environment. Carla learned this through experience. I finally realized Dad didn't need more hospital trips. He needed us, at home, holding his hand, making him feel safe. And something beautiful happened when they made that shift. Hank became more peaceful. The family's visits were no longer rushed or frantic. They spent time reading his favorite poems, playing old records, sharing quiet moments of connection. Those last weeks were some of the most meaningful we ever had with him. Carla told me, if you are seeing these signs in a loved one, repeated infections, wounds that won't heal, unexplained fevers, here is what I want you to know. First, it is not because you or the doctors aren't doing enough. It is the body speaking, saying, I am letting go. Second, it is okay to shift your caregiving focus. This doesn't mean giving up. It means embracing a new kind of care, one rooted in presence, comfort, and love. Here are some gentle ways to support your loved one through this stage. Prioritize comfort over aggressive treatment. Keep them hydrated with small sips of water or electrolyte drinks. Manage pain or discomfort as advised by their care team. Offer gentle touch, a soothing hand on the shoulder, holding their hand. Surround them with familiar, calming sounds, soft music, quiet conversation, and most importantly, let them feel safe. Let them know they are not alone. One of the greatest fears many elders face in this stage is the thought of suffering alone, of being a burden. You can ease that fear with your presence, steady, loving, unhurried. Now, I want to speak about one more sign, one of the most profound changes you may witness: shifts in breathing and circulation. As the body edges closer to its final moments, breathing patterns often change. You may notice shallow breaths, irregular rhythm, fast, then slow, longer pauses between breaths. This can be unsettling to witness, but here's what I want you to know. These changes are not something to fear. They are part of the body's gentle process of letting go. Let me share the story of James and his wife, Helen. In her final weeks, after battling advanced heart disease, James noticed her breathing begin to shift. At first, it was just little things. He told me she would pause between sentences, take longer breaths, but soon, the pauses grew longer. Her breaths became more shallow, irregular. At times, it seemed like she would stop altogether and then gasp gently for air. I was terrified, James said. I kept thinking I should call the nurse or rush her to the hospital. But in many cases, especially in this stage, these breathing patterns are not a medical emergency. They are part of the body's natural rhythm of slowing down. You may also notice hands and feet becoming cool to the touch, fingertips or lips taking on a bluish tint, the skin appearing mottled or pale. Again, this is not distress. It is the body directing blood flow toward vital organs. When James understood this, with the help of their hospice nurse, everything shifted. I stopped panicking. He said, I just sat with her, held her hand, and let her know I was there. That is what your loved one needs most in this stage. A calm, cool room, a comfortable position, often semi-reclined, helps ease breathing. Quiet background sounds, soft music, gentle voices, loving presence, not constant stimulation, but a reassuring nearness. In those final hours, your loved one is often more aware of love than we realize. The warmth of your hand, the sound of your familiar voice, the quiet presence of those they trust. And as their breath slows, you can help create a space of deep peace, where love can be felt in every moment. James shared that during Helen's last night, they played her favorite piano sonatas softly in the background. Her breathing was irregular, but I could tell, when the music played, her whole body seemed to relax. He held her hand until her final breath. I'm so grateful we knew what to expect. He said, it allowed us to give her the gentle goodbye she deserved. And that, my friends, is what I wish for you. Through understanding these signs, and embracing them with tenderness, you can create a space where love is the final message your loved one hears and feels. Because here's what remains true. No matter what stage of life we are in, love is always stronger than fear. Even when memory fades, when breath slows, when the body can no longer respond, love is felt. Love is known. Your calm voice, your gentle touch, your quiet presence. These will remain in the heart of your loved one, even when words and awareness slip away. So as we close, here is what I invite you to carry with you. Give yourself grace. Honor your loved one's process. Trust that presence matters more than anything. Cherish the moments you still have. Before we close, I would love to ask you, what part of today's video spoke to you the most? What is one thing you will take with you on this journey with your loved one? Please share in the comments below, and if this video brought you clarity, even a little, I invite you to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to our Vibrant Elders channel. Together, we are building a community of compassion, wisdom, and love, where no one walks this path alone. I am honored you spent this time with me today, and I am sending you, and your loved ones, a heart full of warmth and peace. Until next time, my friends, stay strong, stay gentle, and stay loving, because in the end, love is what remains and love is what carries us through.